Hello, boys and girls and children of all ages. Fat bastard wannabe Buddha coming at you today. Today I got a simple quote for you. While the earnings of the minority are growing exponentially, so too is the gap separating the majority from the prosperity enjoyed by those happy few. This imbalance is a result of ideologies which defended the absolute autonomy of the marketplace and financial speculation. Consequently, they reject the right of states charged with vigilance for the common good to exercise any form of control. A new tyranny is thus born, invisible and often virtual, which unilaterally and relentlessly imposes its own laws and rules. Debt and the accumulation of interest also makes it difficult for countries to realize the potential of their own economies and keep citizens from enjoying their own real purchasing power. To all this, we can add widespread corruption and self-serving tax evasion, which has now taken on a worldwide dimension. The thirst for power and possession knows no limits in this system, which tends to devour everything which stands in the way of increased profits. Whatever is fragile, like the environment, is defenseless before the interests of the defiled market, which become the only rule. Obviously, that's Pope Francis from his most recent foray into the political sphere. And people must, there's been a lot of controversy on the right, which actually cheers me up, because they are incapable of recognizing what Pope Francis is trying to do. And what Pope Francis is trying to do is doing the basic canary in the coal mine. Hey, we got to crank back a little bit, just a smidgen. We got to roll this back just a little bit, because Pope Francis does not go out there and say capitalism is evil and vile and an abomination before God. That the worship of mammon coupled with the devotion to Ares has destroyed humanity. No, he doesn't do that because, hey, they got a lot invested in the system themselves. The Catholic Church is the oldest, most conservative organization in human history. But they also know which way the wind is blowing currently. And the wind is blowing radically against the dominant paradigm. And you maybe are seeing a paradigm shift like you've seen in the late 70s or mid 70s, when you had this neoliberalism start to take root throughout the Anglo-American sphere. Truthfully, what Francis is proposing is ethics, a non-ideological ethics. I encourage financial experts and political leaders to ponder the words of one of the sages of antiquity. Not to share one's wealth with the poor is to steal from them and to take away their livelihood. It is not our own goods which we hold, but theirs. A financial reform open to such ethical consideration require a vigorous change of the approach on the part of political leaders. I urge them to face this challenge with a determination and an eye to the future, while not ignoring, of course, the specific of each case. Money must serve, not rule. That's right, of course. That's what they want. But he wants the system to continue. He's just basically saying, hey, we got to be a little bit more nice about this, because we're sort of treading on thin water right now. And fortunately for me, I live in America. We are absolutely tone deaf in this country. We are absolutely oblivious to the counter-revolution or revolutions that are springing up throughout everywhere, from the Ukraine just recently to continue the continual struggles in Greece and Turkey and into some parts of Ireland, but they're not as open as they much, even though their banking system was extremely corrupt. But Spain and Portugal, Mexico City most recently. America is absolutely oblivious that there is a sea change happening, that the old capitalist system isn't got as much shine as it once did. And in some ways, I have noticed it to a little degree, even in my own little sphere of influence. When I was a young little radical, I've always been an anarchist, Marxist, socialist, as long as I can remember. And you can truthfully count the number of my fellow travelers on one hand. And we all knew each other in whatever small communities that we traveled in. But now, even my close friends and little brothers that less than 10 years ago would have never called themselves a socialist will now privately, in private conversations, admit, yeah, they probably are more and more socialist now that capitalism is sort of failed and it's sort of lost its luster for them. And these are people that truthfully are what I used to consider mainstream Republicans back in the day. You know, I've always been on the more radical side in comparison to some of my friends, and now I'm hearing my friends change their tune just slightly. But the thing with Pope Francis's most recent speech, it is not a repudiation of capitalism. It's saying, hey, we got to tone it down just a little bit. The people are getting a little restless. You know, we got to, if we want this gravy train to continue, we're going to have to throw them some bones here and there. But fortunately for us, because I am of the school, the worse the better, the financial elite are not listening. They're not paying heed. They think they can club people into submission. They think if they stand and shout and yell and threaten more and more, that obviously they're going to get their way. Well, they probably will get their way in America, which is a lost society in many ways. But I don't think it's working throughout the rest of the world. And that's what the Pope is setting himself up for, because he's the Pope of the world, not just, you know, certain fundraising communities in the commerce departments in the of America on K Street or Wall Street. He needs those people, and those people will support him because they know he's got power. But he also needs the streets, and he's just positioning the church just in case that the winds go the other way, that they have a dog in the hunt. Anyway, I'm quite curious what most people make of the Pope's recent speech. This is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I'm going to link to a Marxist review of the Pope's speech. I hope people take a look at that. And as always, like, favorite, subscribe. I enjoy this. Thank you very much. Have a good day.